You have to, again, to a certain extent, show who you are by being who you are and loving who you are. Number one, loving who you are and finding a person that can accept and love you for who you are, right? That's what we want in the relationship. Okay, so that's something that we need to be aware of, but I also want you to be aware of 10 sexual barriers, all right? Actual issues that we have in the bedroom. So, sexual barriers to communicating in the bedroom. Now, I'm actually going to deep dive into this in the future, but right now I want to go through the 10, again, through the studies, most common sexual barrier communication problem found based on this study that I'm using right now. Number one, frequency of sex. We know that is an issue. So to talk about how often you're going to have sex is a major problem for some couples because they can't hit the right number, right? One says once a week, the other one says once a month. That is a big discrepancy. So you want to be able to get rid of that barrier in terms of that frequency of sex and come to an agreement that the two of you can be happy with, right? So you really have to have that conversation way before you get very, very serious. How many times a week? And if it's something that you can't do, talk about it, find out how you guys can compromise, okay? Number two, experimenting or lack of experimenting. I talked about this a few weeks ago. Experimentation, sexual experimentation in the bedroom is important. Again, I know it'll be easy for some personalities than others, right? But you've got to be open to it. And if you're not, just have the conversation that you're not, but beware, you are going to get some kickback. This experimentation, this bringing some other things into the bedroom will actually help the relationship in the long run. Okay. Number three, oral sex. Ooh, oral sex. That is something that I know a lot of you have your opinions on, and that is a big sexual barrier in communication. So when you talk about oral sex, you want to go right into the details of it because, again, some people like it, some people don't like. Some people don't like to do it, some people like to do it. So you've got to know from the get-go how soon, pretty soon in the relationship, whether that's something that you're going to have an issue with, because oral sex now is sex. It's part of sex. And again, if you have issues with it, reach out and get a sex therapist, get a psychologist, a psychiatrist to find out what the deep-rooted reason is. And again, if both of you agree that it's not a problem, that's great. But it's when there's a discrepancy, when one wants it and the other one does not, that's when there is a big barrier, and that needs to be resolved. But again, that should have been cleared up and known way in the beginning of the relationship, okay? I'm sure you all know that because times have changed, right? Partners told no. Okay, so that is another sexual barrier when the partner wants one particular thing to be done in the bedroom and the partner that they're with says no. Now, to say no, I think is so serious because that is a conversation you should have had. Again, knowing what you want, your preferences should have been discussed before, and that is part of, again, of the sexual barrier. We're not communicating our preferences properly, so we've got to do better on that so that there's not that partner is told no, that they don't want to do A, B, or C. It's going to be something that you're going to get used to. You're going to practice it, being open and being honest in what you want. If you want to write it down, write it down. All right. You want to type it up and send them a letter, text, whatever, do it. But it's important that both of you know the no's and the yeses in the bedroom so that it doesn't happen where you're telling your partner no all of a sudden in the bedroom. Number five, lack of sexual interest. That is something that you should not be experiencing, right? There should be that sexual attraction. If there's a lack of interest, something happens. Someone's dropped the ball. You're not showing love. Get to know those 5 love languages. Get to know why that person's not interested in you and find out, have that open discussion, a great discussion. Again, if you can't do it by yourself or between the two of you, get some help. Number 6, another barrier is when and where to have sex. When, meaning the time of the day, right? The time of the week, the time of the month. When, right? Is it before, after you do an activity, morning, afternoon, evening? That's something the two of you should easily come to agree on, right? Where to have sex, you can decide where you're going to have sex again, communicating. You can do that in so many places, but that is something you discuss with your partner with consent. Number 7. Okay, number 7 is my favorite. You know me and sexual preferences. Number 7, paying attention to sexual preferences. Paying attention, knowing what your partner prefers. You've got to memorize it, get it down. You've got to know it exactly and study it and just analyze it in detail so that you know exactly what your partner loves and exactly what your partner wants to have done so that you become an expert, right? So you have to pay attention. That's the only way that you're going to, pay attention, meaning you become good at it, right? You're going to pay attention to your sexual preferences, meaning you're going to both pay attention to both of your sexual preferences. You, as the individual, have to make sure it's clear by saying it verbally what you prefer. And your partner is going to say the same thing to you, what they prefer. And you get this, to me, this conversation should happen before you're in the bedroom. Write it down again. Make sure that both of you understand it and that you take it very serious, because the more you do that, the more successful your orgasm and your relationship will be in the long run. Okay? So you want to pay attention to your sexual preferences and your needs. The difference is that your preferences are what you prefer to have done. Needs are, oh my gosh, a must that has to be done. So some things you can say, okay, I can let that slide. But there's some needs must be met, and that is a sexual need. I want you to have that conversation. And it's not only just getting that discussion going, but it's also reciprocating and accurately getting that message across and actually doing it appropriately and exactly how the person discussed it. So when you're reciprocating, you want to make sure that you are actually doing it both ways. They're doing a good job for you and you're doing a good job for them. Crucial. If you're not able to satisfy your partner, one person is losing out. That will affect the relationship in the long term. And let me just add this. I have it here in red. It's a little bit small, but your sexual timing for the orgasm is what you should be discussing. The acts. What activity do you like in the bedroom? And the orgasm. Now, that's a little bit more unheard of or more unusual, but timing that orgasm, knowing when both of you want to have that orgasm. Is it one goes first, which is again for those that have issues with orgasming, right? Or should it be something you want to do later on, or just delay on, or he goes first? And it can change from different topic, time to time. It can change. It doesn't have to be the same all the time, that routine. Vary it up, right? So you actually want to have that timing discussed. Maybe discuss it before you go in for that sexual relationship at that point, or you have that discussion before. But on average, it should be something that you should have a great discussion with. And again, it's newish, but for those that are doing it, they're having a blast. They're having the ball of their life. So you have to have that ability to know, am I going to have the orgasm first, or are you going to have the orgasm first? So that both of you can plan it out and you can say, this is what I need for it to happen. And the partner is clear about exactly, right? Reciprocating, giving it to you the way you want it. And guys, listen up. Got to do it the way the girl wants it. And gals, listen up. You've got to do it the way he wants it, step by step. Okay? Number 8, sexual irritation. Yeah, we do, women more than men, get irritated sexually. So again, there are ways to avoid that. My advice is always to get checked by a healthcare provider. Make sure you don't have anything going on sexually, like an STD or any non-STD problem that's going on in the genital area. Make sure you get checked, both men and women. Get your STD blood work and your cultures done. Show it to your partner. Make sure everyone knows everyone's on the same page and is okay. But sexual irritation can come from a few things, So if that happens, just be gentle in the communication. Just make sure it's not frequent. Make sure you take care of it. So it's not something that always comes up all the time so that your partner does not get frustrated. Number 9, medications and health stopping sex. Now that is a big one. So people sometimes get sick, have medical issues that they cannot have sex, and hopefully it's for a short time. That can be a barrier in communication. So, but open up. There are other things you can do, like toys and using other things that can actually help you both get pleased sexually for the short time, right? And medications, be careful with medications because they can impact your sexual satisfaction and your orgasm. So always make sure you check into that and have that discussion with your healthcare provider as to when it's safe to get back to sexual activity, etc. And hopefully both of you can have that conversation where it's not too painful or it's not too prolonged, so it doesn't affect the relationship negatively. And the last one I have here is lack of romance. The lack of romance, lack of being romantic, to me, Being romantic is, again, very important. Really need to be romantic. I always say go find out the 5 languages of love for your partner. That's a simple way of finding out what your partner would like in terms of romance, because romance varies from person to person. And I truly believe that if you are going to show your partner something romantic, it should be what your partner likes, not what you like. So you got to find out what your partner likes in terms of romance and how to show romance to her so that she will love you more and more each day. Okay, guys, nice talking to you. I will talk to you tomorrow. So remember, some questionnaire tomorrow about the actual questions that we're going to deep dive into regarding barriers in sexual communication. All right, see you later.